Hello everyone. I hope you are all doing well. I know it's been a couple weeks since we've had a video out with the holiday, and then last week I unfortunately missed the post. So forgive me on that, but I'm glad to be back and hope you guys are excited for kind of our end of week rundown here, look into next week. Some important things to talk about, as today and yesterday we saw some pretty substantial value shifts within the market. Some higher time frame trends have shifted. So we can get into it, kind of go over some of our structure. So, important things before we get going here. Well, 2 weeks ago, holiday, July 4th, July 3rd, right? This auction here supported off 85. We finally got a test in today. This is very important, and you can see I have it marked over here as our primary value shift from our pre-post 4th holiday. What does that mean? What am I talking about? Well, let me zoom out. And you can see that post-roll gap, we really have two distinct auctions. Take this double distribution as a singular auction, and we have our 3-4 week balance below. Right, so two very distinct auctions here with this LVN splitting it, and this July 3rd, July 4th Europe and Asian session kind of demoting this tiny auction right here for shifts above or below. Holds at 85, right? We want to look back up and into our auction above. Holds below, we want to look down. So very important to note this 85 level, as well as this half day to holiday day auction. As following it, right, we put in a new above and previously a new below. Now, I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, we saw some big value shifts over Wednesday and here into Thursday. The primary being last week's low being taken out here at this 56.15 area. If you see a little bit of kind of commentary here as well, this ends our weekly one time framing up. Not looking bearish until this is resistance, and we saw today our first real trade through, and then midday rejection that brought us down into this Wednesday and Thursday auction. Cleaning up down towards 70, which is our most extreme edge of our lower balance and lower auction. So pretty important here. As well as yesterday on Wednesday, we saw our first kind of sell away and lower high of our double distribution in our top auction. Every other time we've seen a test here, right? Full oscillations between our nodes until yesterday, where we observe our lower high. And then boom, we take out the weekly low. So pretty important in terms of order book shifts here, and in terms of value proposition shifts. We'll go into pathing a little bit and then go peek at the daily as well as the Russell for some more context. But understand, where today's close below previous day value, have not seen that in a while. Below weekly low, have not seen that in a while. Daily one time framing down is now intact. So lower highs, lower lows, very, very large and primary order book and value shift occurring there. Now, what do we look for pathing? Well, we talked about these two kind of areas already, right? With 85 and our 615. Now, with today's auction, especially this midday post open sell off of our pivot, I feel comfortable, and I think you should as well, of extending this range from about 10 up into 20, if not even 25. So you take this area, we have an imbalance here. You can see on this hourly candle to fill above 15. Anywhere 10 to 25, this 15-point range is your new primary pivot tomorrow into Friday and early next week. If we can hold this area, I'll look on this line. If we can hold this area buy side on a reclaim, we should look back up towards 640, which has been our primary weekly pivot. And if we can hold in here, we expect the same type of oscillations, right? After this look below and liquidity look, we should next week or the week following see a higher high get placed in if this area is reclaimed. I don't believe that is the highest probability trade. I believe we will come and look down, and we'll talk about kind of the bearish pathing here in a second, but be aware, if we can hold this area, we want to see higher lows in our pivot around 640 to 645, and then see a full oscillation back towards 680 and build out this selling node. There's a couple times this week, obviously early in the week, we were holding up here. If this test would have held as buyer value and we would not have seen the breakdown, I think we would have seen a higher high probably today, just with trapping more sellers, getting pushed out. But if not, well, we didn't. We need to take a step back and reevaluate through, right? Can buy value come back up here? Can we retrade our upper distribution of this primary auction? And if yes, we should be looking up. 750 to 770 is your primary measured move target there. Now, like I just said, probability wise, I do believe downside is still your highest probability. So we saw a test here. Your main look is once again through this primary, 1525 as your top and 85. This 85 must go resistance, must go offer. So we look down into this first kind of initial little edge. Still Tuesday close and Wednesday beginning of day auction, half day for the US stock market. Clean up this 60 to 70 area, and then my primary look is trades into 45. 30 is completely acceptable, but 45 is your first big return to balance. When we look at our past price action, we can see this was our primary kind of middle pivot of this auction and distribution. 35 was our POC, but rely on 45 as your pivot. As we held above, we were able to oscillate up towards the 60 to 70 area, and holds below saw us back down towards 55.06. So that's your primary setup for bulls and bears here. What happens in this pivot area that we closed in and traded today? Can we look back up? Look back down? Your balanced auction for tomorrow will probably show expansion where we can clean up through 25, if not 30, and continue to do tests in the 60 and 70, but are not really gaining outside of it. We don't see that bid step up into this 40-45 area like we talked about in the bullish, and we don't see this offer drop down under 85 like we just talked about in the bearish. So those are kind of your three pathing into Friday, early next week. Pretty straightforward. I had mentioned this to the Discord members a lot, and if you're watching the live stream, I believe this week and early into next week is a week to be patient, but not passive. You want to be very aggressive in your trades, but be very patient for that perfect setup. A good example that we took today together during the live stream, as well as on voice in the Discord, was this 15 short that was anticipated for quite a while. These are the moves where you want to see size put on and pressure put on your personal trades, but be very patient for this kind of area and this kind of look. Now, let's quickly go take a peek at the Russell here. Those who have been active in the Discord or watching these videos throughout the year know that this value shift, yearly value shift, has been utmost importance to me and something I've been watching since the beginning of the year. We had an attempt here in March to look up over our 2022 highs and into this 2021 auction, which failed and created another oscillation. Higher low was put in. We continue to really struggle. This is a weekly chart, by the way. I should note that. But we have seen now through last week and this week, we have accepted into this 2021 auction. This is post COVID auction. Very important here. And we saw a full oscillation through the node. Now, this value shift is massive on the Russell. Very, very, very big. It will be important to watch this, especially with our bearishness that we're seeing in ES and NQ, which I do believe is warranted, and it makes sense to do a pullback. But does the Russell support this 2021 auction and begins to re-oscillate it? Or do we see a very large degree failure and to trade back in to this year's as well as 2023's auction back down through the 2022 highs? Pivots here, 2230 POC of your node, 2300 being your primary selling edge above, and 2150 to 2160 being this buy-sided edge. 2120 remains as your pivot on the look back down. The reason I'm bringing this up is kind of twofold. One, we're seeing extreme divergence here, where we're putting in strong yearly highs on Russell and maintaining something we have not been able to do, as ES and NQ have continued to make new all-time highs throughout the year, as well as this ability to hold so far as we're taking out auctions in ES and NQ and trading back into lower value. Use this as a signal. If we can see 2160 to 2150 preferably, but a full 2120 test hold, understand we have a very large disconnect between stocks that are, more defensive heavy, generally weather economic storms better in these small caps. A lot of the valuations are based on what they are, not future earnings, what they can bring to the table. It's obviously still a part of the equation, but many of these names are smaller companies, better balance sheets, where we look at tech names in NQ, as well as reflected highly in ES, where a lot of those valuations are based on growth, forward earnings, really pushing the envelope. If we see that disconnect, we're seeing that desire for investors to get out of those risky forward-looking assets and into less growth but safer, more American-made companies, smaller companies. So that is a big kind of shift within the risk appetite, as well as positioning of those participating in the market. So it will be important to watch and look at. That's what I got for you guys. Keep an eye on the Russell. This is a big move, very, very important move. And then back to ES. We're just waiting to decide what happens as we're in this LVN, right? Do we look back down into our balance below, or do we reclaim and look back up? I will see you guys tomorrow on Friday. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you guys next week as well. Thanks for hanging out.